Hello and welcome to another Lord of the Rings Rise to War video. I am the player who plays as the King of the Mountain, and today I'm going to be doing another one of these guides about the sort of new meta and kind of after update 2.0 or 2.3 or whatever you want to call it these days. Sort of commander guides really, and how things have changed, and whether certain people who invested quite a substantial amount of money in are still in the meta. So today we're going to look at everyone's favourite teddy bear. Pretty cool character, to be fair, from the books as well, in Beorn. And obviously, he does have the ability to turn into a gargantuan bear, hence the teddy bear. If no one knew or knew the lore, which I doubt you'd be playing this game if you didn't. So, let's get into it. Beorn is one of the best damage dealers in the game. I still feel he is that. There is a few schools of thought to say that he has actually dropped down in the new meta slightly. For me, he's still pretty impactful, and I will be using him in my season in my main formation still. I can see what people are saying. I am going to try and go through some of those pitfalls with you today. But I'm also going to talk through the benefits of him and that kind of stuff. Firstly, as we normally do, I'm going to look at the skills. So if you have him at R4, I personally, let's reset this. So if I had him at R4, I would max this skill out. And the reason why I would max this skill out is because in this round 4, and this is one of the reasons why you actually use Beorn more than anyone else, to be perfectly honest, he hits like an absolute truck with Skin Changer. Right, so this is from round 4 onwards, shapeshifts and deals 666% damage to 3 formations and gains plus attack 15% until the end of the battle. Level 5, he's got a 30% chance to inflict madness on the target for 1 round, and at level 10 he gains stun and madness immunity, and in the current meta, in the way it is now, that's a pretty powerful tool, to be perfectly honest, because there's a lot of stuns and a lot more madness flying around because of the likes of Sauron now being involved. You've got a lot more of the Nazgul comms doing bits with things, so that's probably his main skill tree. If I was choosing one to go into at R4 and fully max, I would be choosing this one personally, and I would go for Andrew Vale Chieftain full because it deals 300% physical damage to 1 to 2 formations and has a 30% chance to inflict a 70% bleed. That's a lot of maths there. I'm not going to go into the maths. On the target, effective up to 3 times. At level 5, this bleed increases to 50%. And at level 10, the bleed goes 4 times. Now, this mechanic here with the bleed is actually a really, really strong mechanic. It's been in the game for a while now. I'm not entirely sure people have done enough research into it for my sort of taste, but the way he works with this mechanic, it's a really powerful skill. So I'd max that tree next. If I was R4, I would only have 4 points in this. That's 3. There you go, 4 points in this. So then you're dealing 64% to 3 formations. Personally, you probably want to try and get into R5 anyway and get this skill so it acts first. Instead of having to run round 1 cooldown, so it goes off in round 2, it will then go off in round 1. Really and truthfully, you kind of want to get him up to respect 10 if you can, possibly. 1, because of his relic, and 2, so you can max this out. There's his 3 damage skills, 160% 3 formations. Orcs may become more meta now as well, so with people using slightly less of Beorn, and I'll go into the reasons why they're doing that, or at least trying to, you may see more orcs around, and as well now there's some troop damage comps kind of being able to do some damage. You may see some more orcs, so this could be a really powerful skill. This, I'm not really too bothered about, and again, it's one of those things whereby it's a little bit meh. I mean, I'll go for it because it's a skill that he's got, but Forest Guardian is attacks inflicted by 2 allied large unit formations, reduce the target's defense by 10, which can be pretty useful, to be fair, and if you've got Beornins, you can dual blows at a very small percentage. This may as well not be here when you're talking about +3 attack, to be perfectly honest, but there you go. That skill I wouldn't really invest too much in. If you've got him at high Zenith levels, naturally fill it up. But the likelihood of you running Beornins on Beorn is pretty low, personally. As for his relic itself, again, great for the stats. The actual sub skill, apart from it being a pretty cool necklace, it's pretty lame, really, a little bit underwhelming, if I'm being honest. Yes, it's nice that this kind of attack does get boosted, because you do need your attack boosted as much as you can, but when you can get that from equipment pretty easily, I don't see why this would be the case. Naturally, if there's orcs around, it increases it slightly, but let's be real, it's one of the weaker skills on a relic. If you go into his Zenith mode, he turns into the super cool black bear Beorn, which is pretty awesome, to be fair. See some of them knocking around. I like it. Aesthetically very pleasing. He's pretty cool. So that's kind of that. I'm going to go straight into weapons before I start talking about the kind of formations that you see in him and how he interacts with other people. So, to me still, now, he is still the second best damage dealer behind Dain. But that's mainly because I don't think things have changed too much yet. So, you could argue Saruman is now there as well. You could probably argue Shadow at high Zenith levels is also there now, and I'll do a Shadow video at some point. And obviously Gimli, with people using more gills, Gimli has also come to the party a little bit more. So what you're looking for, weapons riser, you're looking to stack this attack stat as high as you can. Ideally in the new meta towards 250, if I'm being perfectly honest. I'm banking with this that I get 10 from the equipment and I get 10 from the ring. Although from what I'm hearing about the ring, there may not be a plus 10 focus and plus 10 attack on it, but I will kind of confirm that. So the reason you need to get now to 250 rather than 200 if you can is because of Sauron's skill. And I know I said I wasn't going to go into this now, so I'm not going to go into it now, but I will explain that when we go into how it interacts with different people. So you're kind of looking at your standard weapons. You're looking at your axes of Khazad Doom. You're looking at your blazing tongs. You are looking at, your Cask of Pride for your helmet. And you're looking at your Palantir ideally, or you might have the drums of Barad-dûr. If you have neither of those, I'd still go for a damage accessory. I'd still throw something like the Fine Smoking Pipe on there. So you just want to try and get that attack as high as you can. If you can get your attack somewhere near there using 3 gear pieces, great. And then use a defensive chest piece, whether it be High Elf Hauberk or the Durin's Plate. I just use the Durin's Plate normally on Dain. I've just put it on here for the sake of it because you get a little bit higher HP. His damage range is pretty sweet, to be honest. It's one of the highest ones in the game as well. So he's also quick, which can cause problems and also solutions, but we're going to come into that again when we talk about how he interacts with people very shortly. If you're looking at purple weapons and accessories and things like that, your purple weapon is going to be your battle axe, which again is pretty useful, to be honest. Got some damage. Chest piece, if I was running a purple, I'd be running this, because your scale mail is actually quite a decent piece with some decent HP and some decent attack. Helmet wise for your burps, I think you're always going to run the full helm, if I'm being honest. A little bit of unit defense, a little bit of attack, a little bit of HP. That's alright as far as I'm concerned. And then your accessory, really, for a purple, is not great. So I would be looking to try and get a golden damage accessory, because it massively helps your formation. And if not, realistically, you're looking at the bone talisman. But that's a different story, because we're talking about how he is today and how he is in the meta. So I guess we're going to go into how he interacts with people. So let's start with Sauron. So the reason why you need 250-ish attack these days is because a fairly decent focused Sauron uses the enemy to debuff your commander. Now that'll get up to around 20%-ish, 18 to 20%. And realistically, 250 is your number, because then it's you're kind of looking at it as you'll still be over 200 attack, which is still good, and you'll still be able to put out quite a lot of damage. The other thing that's changed, and now a slow Sauron can actually do you some real harm, to be honest. So a slow Sauron, now that this madness no longer happens pre-battle, which I think is a good thing, it means that he's also, he's focused on doing this. But now that this pre-battle's gone, you have got a problem with madness in round 3 because people are building Saurons a lot slower. So if Sauron is slower than Beorn, which he is naturally, because Beorn is 39 and Sauron is... Beorn is 39, Sauron's 29. If that's the case, this skill here can hit 2 formations and potentially madden your commander for 1 round. Now, this is a massive, massive, massive problem for Beorn, because if he gets maddened at the end of round 3, he has the potential to absolutely pew you and your entire formation on round 4, which is the main reason, to be honest, why you pick him. Which is kind of like you pay your money, you take the choice. Now, 2 schools of thought with this. You can't really change the base of you doing that to yourself. It's a very low percentage chance that Sauron's going to do that to you, or someone else with madness in round is going to be slow enough to do that to you. If it does, GG's, you've lost the fight, I would hazard a guess at that point. But it is low percentage. Now, I do see a value if we're talking about gear sets, which I've kind of skipped past gear, but I'm going back to gear now because this is kind of the story that we're telling. So some people run agility or half agility on him, or a weapon with initiative. And the reason for this is you are then quicker than someone else's Beorn. So you still might madden yourself to something like a slow Sauron, for example, because people will build Sauron slow now. They've got no reason to build him quick because the Deceiver no longer goes off pre-battle, and pre-battle madness is not a thing anymore. So you might as well tank with Sauron or get some focus in there to debuff. That's just a fact, how it now is. However, if you're slightly quicker than someone else's Beorn, you can potentially madden them in the round. Which means if you were going to hit these 3 formations anyway, so you've got a high chance of hitting Beorn if he's in the other formation. And if he maddens himself, you're then going to cast this on himself. So if you've got a slow Sauron and you've got a slightly quicker Beorn, and someone's running a Beorn in their lineup, you've got 2 chances to madden that Beorn and take this skill. Again, sometimes it's pitfall, sometimes it's a great thing. This skill itself, when it actually works for you, wins you round 4, which is a really important round. There is some mitigation to this now, because people are now using Gil-galad, and I will try and explain that interaction as well. So, with Gil-galad now being used a lot more, and mine actually has gear on today, because I was winding people up. So, this skill here, Kingly Kin, for the first 2 rounds, alpha units in 3 allied formations have evade 60% chance, but if you completely fill it, which you will, it goes to a 70% chance. Now, that's not guaranteed, but it is allowing people, if they have him in the formation, to get their Gandalf the White, run him high focus, and then White Council is going to be something like a 70% White Council. And because of the way that the elves dodge the attacks in those first 2 rounds, White Council survives potentially into round 4. Now, the problem with White Council surviving into round 4, if you have a Beorn, your main reason for doing it is that you're looking to hit with some serious damage in round 4. And there's reports from 2.0 right through to now where round 4 Beorn's hitting like a serious nuke. If White Council's still in play at 70%, that's massively decreasing your damage. So some of the pitfalls with Beorn now are, with Gil in play, if you can't clear that White Council quick enough, you have got a bit of a problem. Now, I still think he's fine to use personally, because he's still got some great damage after that. And I was talking about gear sets, and that was agility covered. And that was a long explanation for why you might run agility. The other ones that I like on him are Perseverance, for obvious reasons, because by the time round 4 comes around, you've got a bit of damage behind you. Might's a good one, because obviously it's flat. And I like Sharp Blade as well, because it keeps his attack high and it gives you some options. Defensively, I would run something like a Protection set, or possibly, depending on my formation, something like a... the skill, I forget it. What is it? Evasive Action. That is exactly the skill I'm looking for, Evasive Action set. So, To try and counteract that, and I'm definitely not saying do this, you could do several things. You could run 3DDs, so you could put a Saruman in there, or you could put a Gimli in there, or a Shadow in there, who are going to clear White Council in different ways for you. So it would be Gimli would be using his Pursuit skill, or it's not called that anymore, it's Keen Eye, and he would cut through the evasion of the elves anyway, and you would clear White Council stacks faster, and the likelihood is Beorn would hit in round 4. The other thing is if you did it with Shadow or a Saruman alongside your Dain, because I'm definitely not saying take Dain out of your formation, they will naturally clear White Council faster because they have skills that put out more attacks. So even though the elves will evade, they won't evade everything, and they'll naturally put out more attacks. So one of the pitfalls of Beorn is the fact that he is fast as well. So in that round 3, there still might be some evasion going in, which is a bit annoying. So that's kind of that, really. He is a fast damage dealer. It can work for you. It can work against you. That's the interaction with him. There isn't really too much else to say about him apart from the fact that he is a fantastic commander still. I would still use him in my main formation, and I will still use him in my main formation because I think his actual damage output is still, if not probably the second or third best damage output in the game. I do think long-term Shadow potentially may be one of the best damage dealers in the game now that you get more points easier for him. Really like Black Numenor as a skill on top of what he's already got as a kit, and there's some great options. I'm hoping to do a Shadow video soon to sort of highlight that. But as far as it goes for a damage dealer's kit, it's pretty impressive. And to be fair to himself, he puts out a lot of different attacks. So this is 1 to 2, this is 3 formations in every couple of rounds, this is every couple of rounds, this is 1 big hit, to be fair, and then obviously he's increasing this damage, which is every couple of rounds. And because he's naturally quite chunky, he's hitting hard even with his normal attacks. But the key is you do need to make him hit the opponent, and preferably through White Council in round 4. So for me, definitely still in the meta, definitely still a great commander. I have heard people who have put Gimli into their formations to try and counter Gil-galad and have taken Gimli back out again because they're losing that round 4 battle, and the feeling that's losing them the fight. So it's quite interesting to see how they interact with different comms. I do like the new system that they've used and introducing some slightly different things because it's led to some slightly different commanders being used. But I get there's a lot of people invested very heavily in Beorn, and his chest was one of the most sought after and probably most used chests in the game, to be honest, for the Mavens and things like that. So I think it's nice to know that he is still pretty much in that top tier. And with that, that's everything I've got time for today. So if in doubt, always follow your nose.